Knows Best.
Hi, friends, and welcome back to Brenna Knows Best. I'm your host, Brenna Berg. Hi, how are you guys? Happy Monday. When this episode comes out, I'm going to be on a freaking plane, I think. Yeah, no, I will definitely be on a plane because I'm going home to North Dakota and I'm filming this on like Wednesday. So by the time I'm filming this and it's coming out, I've already come and gone. But you guys, last week, LaDonna and Gordy, I'd been catching up with them. They're going through paperwork, doing all of the things, and they got the house, obviously. Like, what? Do LaDonna and Gordy have 300 credit scores? No. And they have the money. So it's not like they wouldn't get the house. However, obviously other things can happen. But they texted me about something, and then I called, and she's like, okay, we're going to the title company, I think. I don't really know exactly how everything works, especially with the new build, but they got the key on Friday. So Carter got home and I was like, okay, I need to go home, and sooner rather than later, because if I wait too long, they're going to be moved and I want to really like actually help them. So Carter got home from work. I was like, is it okay if I go this weekend? I'll leave on Thursday night. That way May Dog is only by herself for like 30 minutes. My flight's at like 7 p.m. So I'll head to the airport at like 5:30. It's like a half an hour to get there. And then Carter will get home from work, obviously, at some time shortly thereafter. And then Friday, he can do like a half day in the office because nobody is in his office on Fridays, apparently. So he can go in. That way, Maydog's only gone or by herself for a couple of hours. And then Saturday, Sunday. And then Monday, I'm flying at like 6 a.m. So I need one of my family members to take me to the airport at like 5 a.m. So I don't know who I'm going to drop that bomb on. However, oh my gosh, you guys, wait. Can we talk about something very sad really quickly? And I'm not trying to like put a damper on the mood, and it really has nothing to do with any of us, but I went to Central Market this morning, which is our grocery store, or the one that we go to. And I love going during the weekdays because it's like so empty. It's all old people. Like, oh, it is just honestly my bread and butter. Besides, I actually like going on Saturdays and Sundays right at 8 a.m. when they open. I'm in and out. This past weekend, I got out in 12 minutes. And the weekend before, I got out in 13. So I PR'd. Like, I'm zooming in, I'm checking out, and I'm gone. Okay. But anyways, I went there just now before filming this, and I came through the produce and all of this, the bread, whatever, and I'm going to the self-checkout, and I look over and there are like a bunch of people kind of standing, and there was like two older people, and I look and like I couldn't really see because people were crowded around, but some older woman, oh my gosh, like a grandma. I don't know if she passed out. I don't know what was happening. Like, you know, when you're trying not to look, but you want to look, I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I'm checking out and I keep looking over, and just like the way that her body was, like they were trying to get her to sit in something, but her body was like straight. I don't know what happened. And I got through all of my items, and then I left, and there was the security guard out front, and then here comes like an ambulance, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So sad. And like the grandpa, oh my fucking God. But honestly, if you're going to go out, that's where I want to be. Central Market, honestly, not a bad way. So, oh my gosh, Brenna, that's so cold. You guys, sorry. She's definitely not dead, I don't think. However, oh my gosh, should I not joke like that? This is who I am. I always joke about bad things because it's like how I cope. So don't mind me. However, how did we get here? Oh, LaDonna and Gordy, old people. Oh my gosh, LaDonna on the phone also was like, okay, Gordy, we need to start living it up. Like, we don't have much time left. I'm like, LaDonna, don't ever say that. Don't ever fucking say that again. However, okay, we're going to stray away from this conversation. But they got the key on Friday. So, okay, yes, book the flights. I'm going in. I'm helping. And LaDonna actually texted me this morning, you guys. And she goes, okay, sweetie, Brianna is coming, my cousin Brianna. And she is going to go through the Christmas stuff. And on the phone, I told LaDonna, I was like, oh, I might want some stuff. Like, I don't have any Christmas decor. It'd be so special to have like some of your old stuff. That way I can have it for forever. But there's nothing that like came out of my mind. Like, she's always decorated to the fucking moon. But there's nothing in specific. Oh my gosh, she has all of those little like, you guys, I don't even know. Not covenant sets. What is that word? Oh my gosh. There's so many times on these episodes where you guys message me after and you're like, bitch, I was trying to tell you. The not rotisserie set, you know, with the Jesus and the lamb in the house. Okay, again, I don't know religion, so I don't really know the whole, like, even what it is. but what is that called? The novelty set? The you guys know the exact word, but that. So she has like a ton of that stuff, which I don't really want because I'm not religious and like I don't really need Jesus in my house. However, she might have like cutesy things. But anyways, she texted me. She's like, y'all, I'm a hot mess. Okay. She said, morning, honey. Okay. Bree is coming this morning to look at Christmas stuff. Is there something that you really liked that you remember? I'll save them for you with exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. I said, nothing in specific that I can think of. Let Bree take it all if she wants. Don't worry about me. Let's get rid of this shit. And she just sent back a laughing emoji because she's been stressing about getting rid of all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, don't worry. Like I have stuff of theirs already. Like I don't need anything, but I'll try and peruse and see if there's something I can grab. And then, I called her on Monday morning to confirm I was coming in. I'll get in at like 10 p.m. So my dad's going to get me, I think, and then I'll stay at their house because I don't want LaDonna and Gordy out that late. But when I called her on Monday, she was at the house, and you guys know Gordy broke his hip. So like he can't really help at all, which I bet feels like so emasculating for him, which like, okay, he's fine. You know, like his feelings are going to be okay. But like as a man, I bet that's so hard and just like going through all of this. But anyways, besides the point, she was at the house because their dining table was getting delivered and their bar stools. And here's the thing, the house is like brand new, so they were able to pick all the appliances. Actually, I don't think they picked the stove and the microwave, like that was set. They got obviously a fridge, but they were able to pick washer and dryers. And you guys, their washer and dryer in their current house is like quite literally probably from 1988 when they got the house. Like it is so fucking old. Like they're that ugly ass tan color. Like, oh my gosh. Anyways, the problem is not that. The problem is LaDonna, her entire life, you guys, she is quite literally 5 feet tall, maybe. I'm not sure. Maybe 5'1". Maybe 4'11". I don't know. She's tiny. She is also like not even 100 pounds. So she's just a little bitch. Well, she literally, because these old washer and dryers, they all used to be like the top loading, you know, at least for the washer. She can't reach the bottom. She has to like essentially jump over, like rest on her tummy to like reach down and get the clothes from the bottom of the wash machine. It's not funny because it really pisses her off, but like just my sweet little grandma, like she's literally so small that like when she leans over, I kind of combine the two, she can't reach the bottom. And it is also hilarious that like I'm a huge bitch. Like I'm 5'9". I've just never even had these problems. But anyways, they're getting a front loader. So she's so excited about that because she'll just like be able to reach it, obviously. But she said that they picked like the washer and dryer that had like the least amount of buttons and options and things because she's like, I don't know what all of these like different gadgets are about. I mean, their washer and dryer is literally so old. Like there's only, you know, there's hot, medium, cold. Like it doesn't even have like some things that we get so used to, but like, Brenna, you dumb bitch. Like just obviously modern world and us young people are like good at catching up with the times. And a lot of you probably never even saw a washer and dryer like this, but like it literally was just like hot, warm, cold, you know, how much soil you want or like how wet, obviously like low, medium, high, like you pick the settings. Like that is how the OG or original washer and dryers worked. And now it's like delicates, this, that, like you might have some say. And that's what she was scared of. She's like, oh my gosh, there's this and then there's that and then there's that. She's like, I don't want all of that. Like obviously she's been doing laundry for her entire life. Like she knows the thing. So just give her the simple one. And oh my gosh, she's like, Brenna, there are buttons on our stove. It says like pizza. She's like, if I just hit pizza, will it make me a pizza? I'm like, and LaDonna's hilarious, but sometimes I'm not sure where that ends and where she's like being serious. I'm like, does she really think that it's just gonna pop out a pizza? I think it has lasagna. She's like, is this thing just gonna whip out some lasagna? I'm like, oh my gosh. But honestly, I don't even know how to use those buttons either. Does it just have like a preset temperature? Again, it's like these old people, they don't need all of that. Like they're just simple, especially my family. Like they've been living in the golden ages like their entire life until now. So that's that. But anyways, I'm so excited and I'm going to help them like figure out all the gadgets, even though I'm probably not that good at it myself. I'm going to try and like introduce them to the neighbors, which again, they're very nice people. Oh, speaking of, because me and Carter were talking about this, he was telling me all the things that I should help them do, like random things that they might not know. And I was like, okay, babe, thank you. Because he's so right. Like there are so many things that we don't even think of and they don't know how to do it. But he was like, you should definitely try and just like say hi to neighbors and like whatever. I'm like, of course. Well, when I talked to LaDonna, she said that the neighbor across the street, she's like, number one, I think she runs a daycare. She's like, we see little kids in the morning, or I've seen kids in the morning. But she said one day they got home and the woman took her big dog out of the vehicle. Like they brought their dog somewhere, took the dog across the lawn or across the street to somebody else's lawn. It went potty and poop. And she just walked back. So LaDonna's like, I already don't like this bitch. And I'm like, oh my God, that's crazy. Especially just, it's crazy, full stop. Like, number one, pick up after your dog. Number two, doing that in somebody's yard. But number three, this is like a brand new community. I don't even know if LaDonna is going to have neighbors yet. And Gordy, sorry, I just said LaDonna. Gordy's not moving. She's leaving his ass at the old house. But I don't know if they're all new builds. So like, I don't think it'll even be filled up yet. Okay. That's all I want to say about that, I think. So I'm excited. Next week, I'll have to tell you how it goes, what happened. It's going to be great. Now let's catch up about my life. Carter got his first paycheck, which has been really annoying actually, because he started, you guys, like September 3rd, but you know how pay periods are like from a few weeks prior, so he didn't get paid until like the end of September. But immediately, you guys, he booked us a flight to go to California because we have something coming up. But he's like, okay, got these flights, like here's the rent, yada yada. And I'm like, oh my God, this is what I've been waiting for. This is what I've been waiting for. And actually, okay, not to piss anybody off about wealth, because I know it can be so annoying and I hate to like, you know, Brenna, what are you even saying? It's just like annoying, and I know it can rub people the wrong way, and this might rub you the wrong way, but I think it's fucking crazy, and I'm just trying to tell you my perspective and my story, because you guys know that. Okay, let me start from the top. Me and Carter are watching a YouTube video, and it's like some guy who's staying at Airbnbs, okay? And there's like different, you know, a boat. He was doing all of like the categories of Airbnb, and the one was luxury. So he stayed in this mansion. We're just watching this YouTube video. We're sitting on the couch, and the guy walks to the backyard, and there's like this built-in, it's got a pool, but there's like this built-in like rock water slide. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's cool. And don't get me wrong, Carter's dad is a doctor. So like obviously money. And I knew that they lived in a house prior to the one that I've seen, like when Carter was a child, and they talk about how cool it was and how nice. But like Carter never divulged any more information apparently, because we're on this couch and I'm like, oh, that's sick. Like, look at that water slide. And Carter goes, you know, like our old house had a way cooler water slide than that. I'm like, no, why the fuck would I know that? But like, what do you mean? You know, immediately I'm like, spidey senses, because again, you guys, me, my father, and my brother, you're like, we get it, bitch. You lived in a small house, but it was 950 square feet. This apartment is 900 square feet, only 50 less. And like, this apartment is nicer than my literal home. Obviously, my home had 2 bedrooms and 1 bath. My dad, you know, me and my brother bunked for a really long time. And then my dad ended up going, we had a basement that was like not finished, but he kind of just like made a faux room that he lived in. So me and Brandon could finally have our own bedrooms at some point. However, our house, like obviously it's just old, whatever. So like this apartment, just like appliances, everything is like nicer than the house I grew up in. Okay. That's a fair statement. Well, Carter is, you know, talking, and he's like, and oh, let me also say his current house, like his parents' home in California right now, gorgeous. It is 1 floor, however. So it's 4 bedroom, 3 bath, but it's super nice, a tiny yard. So like a very modest sort of home. I know 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, like that's still crazy, but it's like nothing like, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. But they always said that the house they had before that Carter primarily was raised in was like insane, you know, like way bigger, 2 stories, da da da. So I'm like, okay. So back to the story. He's like, yeah, we had a way cooler slide than that. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he's like, oh no, he didn't say this. I'm like, pull up the Zillow listing. Like, why haven't I looked at this before? Why have you not sent me the details? I love Zillow. Zillow is my bitch. I was on it this morning. I was up at 5 a.m. I was scrolling Zillow, just looking at this, that, and the other. However, I'm like, that is a good point. Like, and one time he drove me past it while we were in California, and it's not far from his current place. Like, they've always kind of lived in the same areas, and we drove past it. But two things, it's like a U shaped, but like part of, oh my God, bitch, you're not going to explain this well. You can only see a little part of the front, and then there's a ton of trees and things. So like I couldn't really see much. I mean, it looked nice, but like there was a lot of house in the back. Well, he pulls up the Zillow listing. And if you are a fan of Zillow, you will know that sometimes you pull up a house and it doesn't have any photos, but there is always, it will have like the street view. It has like the map, and then it has like an overhead shot of like the actual kind of landscape, like from a satellite. And that's what we had to offer. It didn't have any photos of the interior, like multiple, oh my gosh, bitch, multiple photos. You get what I'm saying? Well, I take it, I scroll, and I'm looking at the overhead view of this house, of the house that he primarily grew up in. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I'm looking and I'm like, it has the lot carved out, but there's like this square, right? Like a pretty big size square in like one of the back corners. And he goes, oh, that was our tennis court. Huh? He goes, yeah, like our tennis court, that was ours. It was in the back corner. And I also had a basketball hoop, so we could have like a half court. We would take the net off. And yeah, that's like, he's like just so honestly, so modestly saying like, oh yeah, that was our tennis court. Like matter of factly, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Your tennis court? You had a tennis court in your backyard? I can't, like, I cannot. And honestly, I should have known, because you wouldn't tell. Like if you met Carter, it's like not that he's like this little rich boy, like at all, because I just would never vibe with that person. However, we like always joke about our upbringings and how they were so different, just like in so many ways. He grew up in California, perfect weather every single day. I grew up in North Dakota, negative 30 degrees in the wintertime. Winter is like 8 months. Like they're just like vastly different. Whereas I play a lot of card games. I've taught Carter so many card games. We play Yahtzee, like all of this stuff. He never did that because number one, it was 75 degrees every fucking day of his life. Number two, he had a tennis court, now that I'm learning, and a pool. I'm like, oh my gosh. And not like it changes anything, but I'm like, what? Nobody was going to tell me you had a tennis court? And I've never seen photos in their house of that house, maybe interior, but I'm like, oh my God, like I actually would hate you. Like if I was not your girlfriend, I would hate you, because that's like so annoying. It's like so annoying and so obnoxious. And then it took me a second and I'm like, do you think our apartment is like horrible? Like, do you think we're the slums? And he's like, babe, no, like this is a nice apartment. I'm like, but you lived in that house. Like it's a huge house. You had a pool and a slide and a tennis court. Like this is a major downgrade. I'm like, this is quite literally better than the house that I grew up in. You know what I mean? And not that it matters. And again, like I'm saying this as if like money matters and like whatever. I had a wonderful childhood. Like full stop, full sentence. Like, and there are like rich people, you know, that have miserable lives. Like that's a matter of fact. And like their parents are psychotic or like what have you. It does not mean anything, but I'm just like, that's great. That's crazy. No. Oh my gosh. I thought you guys would love that story because I was like so shook. It took me a while. I'm like, oh my God. Like there was like this hatred that kind of burned inside of me. Like rich people used to really piss me off back in the day when for example, oh my gosh, another conversation that I had with Carter. I was telling him yesterday because sometimes I feel like I'm not doing enough. You know, as a girl, you guys know, who's always had like multiple jobs, I'm now just doing content creation and it's so wonderful. And I am so lucky. I mean, I created this and I made this happen, but it is still like such a privilege. I get it. Okay. However, there are times during the day where I'm sitting here like right now, I am doing my job. I'm talking, but like I'm in my sweatpants. Like sometimes I'll be on the couch. I'm like snacking. And I was thinking about Carter in his office. I'm like, oh my God, he's in a suit right now at a desk. He's there from like 7 to 7 minimum, typically. Like, I need to do more. And I feel like, oh, should I get a job? Like, should I do something else? Like, is there more I should be doing? And then I think about college and I'm like, there were so many kids that all they did was went to school, and like no shame at all, but like that, I couldn't do that. I had to work full time. I worked like 40 plus hours. So I'm like, this right now, when I during the day feel like I'm not doing anything or like I'm scrolling on TikTok or whatever, I'm like, I deserve this and I earned this. Because in college, when kids were just doing nothing, partying, like they didn't have to work, I was working. So this is like the fruits of my labor. I had to like justify to myself, which how did I get into this topic? I'm not really sure, but oh my gosh, I was just like, sometimes I feel like I'm not doing enough. But then I said, no, bitch, you've worked hard for a really long time. You deserve this. And that is that. I'm not sure where that point was going or how we got there, but that was that. And now let's move on to the Alani Nu gate. When they add gate, like Watergate, or like, what's another example? Like when it's scandalous, gate is added. Alani Nu gate. So we all know, if you've been following on the Instagram stories, that Carter has taken my Alani Nu cherries when there are other flavors that he should be taking, the worst flavors, but he goes right for the best, and I'm saving those. And you guys know, I said I was going to hide them, but I didn't. Like, LOL, haha, funny, but like, it's fine. Well, going into last weekend, there were two Cosmic Stardust left, okay, in the fridge. And I said, I am not replenishing the cherries because all that was left was my case of cherries. I said, I'm leaving these two so Carter takes one of them and then I will replenish the cherry. And I knew this was going to happen. I'm sitting on the couch because typically, always, I am up first. I get up, I take care of May, and then I sit on the couch and wait, especially on the weekends, because like Carter, you guys, he has been working so much. Yesterday, he left at like 6:30 in the morning. He got home at like 7:30. We had dinner. He had to get back to work. He worked from like 8 till 9:30, and then we went to bed. Like, that has been our reality. So on the weekends, like I try and obviously let him sleep in. So I just like sneak out, whatever. Well, I'm sitting on the couch and I came in, I like woke him up, like kind of opened the blinds, whatever. And then I went back to the couch with May, and he comes out and he goes to the fridge. And I know that there are two Cosmic Stardust, but I also know that he knows that there is cherry in the pantry. And I watch him, and he is like, so I feel like men are all so dazed in the morning. Like, that's not me. When I'm up, I'm up. Like, I'm ready to go at 6 a.m. I don't know what that is, but like, I feel most men, it takes them a while or until they have their caffeine, obviously. And so he's kind of like in a daze. He's strolling over. He opens the fridge. He looks down, and I'm watching him do this whole thing. I'm sitting on the couch and I'm watching, and he looks down at the Cosmic Stardust. He does not grab one. He shuts the door. He walks his happy ass over to the pantry, and he grabs a cherry slush. He grabs a cup, puts ice in it, and he's pouring it. And he looks up at me, and I said, really? Really? And he knows. We've now had this conversation. He said, babe, you've just got to change your strategy. And I just like literally cannot. So I finished the two Cosmic Stardust on Sunday and Monday, and I'm finally now to the cherry. But I'm leaving this weekend, so he's also going to drink them. When you guys ask if me and Carter have points of contention, this is it. This is it. And it's not real at all. Like, I'm not actually mad. This is like a personal problem, but this is pretty much the only fight we've ever had. And I just like could not believe before my eyes he was doing that. I was like, of course he is though. Like, I knew it was going to happen, but he wasn't paying attention to me. Like, it was just what he was doing. He walks over, he starts pouring, and he kind of looks at me, and I said, perfect. I'm so happy for you. Enjoy that cherry, bitch. Okay. Anyways, let's move on. Lastly, before we move on to the topic, I had somebody, hi Kate, should probably not say your name, but I just did. I posted, you guys, my favorite candle is the Vanilla Bean from Bed Bath and Beyond. I lied. Bath and Body Works. Why the fuck are they so similar in names? I can't take that. However, she said no. A different one is, but then you guys, she told me about these candle lights, candle lamps, candle burners on Amazon. So basically, they're like this little platform. And the reason I'm telling you is because I had never heard of this. So if you've heard of this, you're like, you dumb bitch. Like, these have been around for forever. But this is for all the people who didn't know about this. And honestly, I don't think you're technically supposed to obviously burn candles in an apartment because of the fire hazard. But like, I do. Sorry. Allegedly, I do. However, they're like this little platform. And then there's like a little lampshade sort of situation on top. And basically, you set the candle on the platform and the lamp like warms up, so it burns the wax without like obviously lighting them on fire, so it still gives off the scent, is what I'm learning. So there are some really cute ones on Amazon. I don't know if I'm going to get one. I never said that I would. However, it's a great idea. Like, I just like lighting the candles. It doesn't really bother me. I know they're probably like toxins and like cancer and like that. However, I just like hate clutter. So I don't just want to buy another freaking thing to like set somewhere. Maybe if it was like super cute, but if you're scared of like lighting the fire or you want to be healthier, which if the wax is still burning, well, no, that would probably be a little different. Just so you know, product of the week apparently is a candle lamp. And I wanted to tell you, for anybody who doesn't know about that. Okay, moving on. I am still reading The Great Alone, you guys, and I'm finally to the good stuff. I'm going to be honest, the first half of this book, you guys, it's taken me a while. Like, I do enjoy the dynamics, like the mom being in an abusive relationship and like all of that situation. I think it's very informative, but just like a good story. I like it. However, it wasn't like grabbing me. Like, I'd put it down and I wasn't excited to put it up because like nothing really of note was happening. But now I just got to the part where, well, I won't say. However, Matthew and Lenny are together and they're trying to escape. And that's where I'll end on that. Wonderful. Loving it. I'm hoping that I can finish this. Obviously, probably when I go home, definitely on the plane. Ooh, I should probably bring another book then. Okay, but that's my book update. Oh, and one more thing I wanted to talk about. On my YouTube, I got a video recommended. I just go to like my homepage and I watch a lot of like Jay Shetty and John Deloney, which I've honestly been off of his videos. I know I said I was going to make that a segment, but I think I've watched them all. So now I don't have shit to talk about. But a Girls Gotta Eat episode came up and the title was Why Couples Are Living Together Apart. Living Apart Together, featuring Kelly Coyne. Okay, I said that incorrectly. Why are couples living apart together? And it was just like such a good video. And I love hearing conversations about not traditional relationship things, like people having separate bedrooms or like all of that. And they discussed like thoughts on that. And I don't know. I just highly recommend it if you are also interested in things like that, because there was a quote where she said, "Are you great partners, but just terrible roommates?" Where I'm like, oh, that's so valid. Like, you hear so many people like they're great, they're happy, they're loving, they move in together and like the person is a slob. And it's like, you might be great partners, but you're just terrible roommates. And not to say that they had like really an answer for it, but I just like love that conversation. It's something to think about. And then they also discussed just like how, for example, you know, different life stages, like on one hand, you know, I think back and with every boyfriend before Carter, like I needed so much alone time. Like I was just, please get out of my hair. I want to see you maybe 3 nights a week. And it's hard to say if that's because they were the wrong person or I was just in a stage of life where I needed my alone time, because I feel like in your early 20s or whatever that stage is, that you just might be needing more alone time. So I hate to say, you know, when I give advice, I try and think of like all of the scenarios and things. And on one hand, I'd be like, well, if you want alone time from your partner, that's like totally normal and healthy. Like when Carter goes out of town, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing. It's not because I don't love him. It's not because I'm not going to miss him, but I just like love my alone time. But it is very different. Like before, I could never see myself living with a partner. And with Carter, it was like easy breezy, beautiful cover girl. And it's like, were they the wrong person or was it just like the life stage I was in? I don't know, but just like things to think about. So highly recommend that video. I watched it on YouTube, but I think they obviously have it on like Spotify and Apple. Okay, let's just shut the fuck up and get into the topic. I asked you guys, ooh, hold please. I just dropped my phone. I asked you guys to give me what topics you guys are needing. And a lot of you were saying that you want to talk about like being your authentic self. There were a bunch of different like variations of this, like how to, figure out who I am, or like how to be the best version of me, or, how to figure out what I like even. And so I just thought I'd put this all together and title it Becoming Your Authentic Self, which what the fuck is even your authentic self? Because I was thinking about how in different dynamics, I'm a different person. Around my family, I'm a little different. With Carter, I'm a little different. When I'm in a group setting, I'm a little different. When I meet one of you out in the wild, I'm a little different. And it's like all very much me, but they're almost like different characters. And that's like the hard thing about this topic is we are constantly changing and evolving. So it's not like you to your core or just like one thing. You know what I'm saying? Like there is not just like a Brenna and she likes this, this, and this and does this, this, and this, and that is who I am. It's constantly evolving. The other day, Carter was like, can you imagine or like remember the time when you didn't read? I'm like, that's so funny. Like, no, because I've been reading, I think this whole year. But like, again, our hobbies, our interests, our jobs, like we're constantly changing. And so you're never going to be just this one thing. But what I think like being your authentic self is number one, like your happiest, most at peace, content self. Like when you feel the best version of you and not when you were the happiest, not, oh my God, bitch. Like, okay, wait, let me rephrase. Because why I said that was like, if you go to a concert and have like the most fun night of your life, like having a fun moment, but being like deeply content and happy is very different to me because like you and I couldn't all go to concerts all the time and be like 100% and be the best versions of ourselves. You know what I'm saying? However, that is what being authentic is to me. And also, I think more so how we like figure out who that is. It's not by, I think oftentimes we're like, we see another girl and she's either like the quiet and mysterious girl, or you see the girl at the bar who's like dancing on the table and is loud. Oh, also being authentic is not like being your authentic self is not being the loudest, wildest, craziest person or girl. Like, I think sometimes we think that, and it's just like being so deeply true to you. And I think we see other people and we are envious. We're like, oh, she's so fun and like so loud and outgoing, or she's so like mysterious and quiet. Like, let me try that. Let me try and like not yap as much, or let me try and just like, go balls to the walls and like yell and like be that girl. It's like, it's not adding things. It's not trying to be more of this or like trying a new thing, a new hobby. I think it's more about like revealing things within yourself. Like honestly, kind of like taking away all of the pressures that have been put on us. I think from very young ages, especially for girls, there are a lot of things like thrown at us, and men, I guess, but like you are constantly kind of like put in boxes, and there are societal pressures that come into play that you think you should be a certain way. Like I remember in college, the most fun girls that people loved to be around were like the loud bitches who standed on the tables, or who would stand on the tables. Is standed a word? Holy fuck, bitch. Well, whatever. Anywho, that is like not, who cares? Like that is not who I could be. That is just like not me to my core. But in college, I'm like, that girl is like the it girl. But it's like, no, that's just like who she is. And she's like loud and crazy, but like that's not who I am. So I think it's about going through the levels and like ripping off like all of these sort of boxes that we've been put in, or like honestly, sometimes the labels we've given ourselves. And this is like one thing where I've always hated labels of any kind, because I think even if you try not to, when you tell yourself like you're a student, let's say you're a college student, and like, so you put yourself in that box, which like, yes, do you go to college? Totally. But like, you are so much more than a college student. The biggest example of this is like moms. Like, yes, if you are a mother and you have children, like I get that. That is like something, the biggest and most encompassing thing that you can be as a mom, because like you have children, they rely on you. Like you have to be a mom all of the time. But just because you have children and are a mom doesn't mean that like that is your only identity. And some people like revel in that. Some people love that. But I think labels are so hindering, because even like into adulthood, some people I know, like it feels like the only thing that they even care about is like their job title. Like, you know, the people, it's like, oh, that bitch is the one who works at Ernst & Young. And they kind of just like take that on, and it's all they talk about. And it just feels like that's their entire being. I think about people who put things in their bio, like their career or whatever the thing is, like IT tech at Google. Like that's awesome. But I feel like when we put labels on ourselves without even thinking about it, we kind of just like become that, or we just like try and subconsciously fit into a box. And it's like, we are so multifaceted. Like you can be an IT tech person at Google, but you are also a friend, and you also read, and you also play pickleball, and you also are a child to your parents. And like, it's so weird what we pick up and what we kind of mold ourselves to be, and like the little things that we just take on. Like we all know it. There are so many people that like their personality trait, oh my gosh, which social media is very different. But there's that girl who's like become the Diet Coke girl. I think it's, well, her name is like House Chris or something. I don't know her name, Chris. It doesn't matter. But she's like become this Diet Coke person. And I'm like, okay, people are loving this content and it's great. But like, she kind of like put herself in this box. And that is social media. You need a niche. And again, social media. This is very different than like human beings and like real lives. However, I just like don't like to do that for ourselves. Do you know what I'm saying? Because it makes you act a certain way, whether you think about it or not. Like, again, like it's a conscious thought. So I just would really highly encourage you, like you are so much more than whatever sort of boxes you are putting yourself in. And how I would become my authentic self, and how I have become my authentic self, I want you to think about when you are your happiest and best and most content self. Your environment is everything. And of course, sometimes we're stuck in environments that we don't want to be in. Like, let's say you have a shitty roommate. There are some things that we have to get through. But for the most part, environments that you can control, number one, like who are the friends that you are your best self around? And not even best self, but just feel your best around, and like your most true content self. Like you don't have to impress them. You don't feel like you're doing things you don't want to. Oh my gosh, I kind of forgot like the first point that I wanted to make is to become your authentic self. You need to like know yourself. And I talk about this all the time, like in confidence and self-acceptance. But if you've never spent time alone and don't even know what are things that you like and don't like, how the fuck would you ever become your authentic self if you were constantly around people? Because when we're around people, we're constantly persuaded by them. We are constantly, what's the word I'm looking for? Just like they rub off on us. You know what I mean? So if you're constantly around, even if they are good people, like we kind of take on the personalities of the people we're around, or the moods or the things. So like, number one, you need to spend time by yourself and then ask yourself, like, when do I feel my best? When am I my best? Like, in college, you guys, I knew, hold. When do you not feel your best? When do you feel gross? And gross in the way of like, oh, I don't want to be here. I don't really like these people. When I was in college, that was at parties or at the bar. I hated it, but I would do it because that's what I thought everybody was supposed to do. Again, it's like these societal pressures and like these weird things that like we just believe to be true or like that we should be doing. And it's like, why? I can actually do whatever the fuck I want. So like, why do I feel like I need, again, like revealing these things? So for me, it started out in college. Oh, number one, it started in high school. I fucking hated those bitches. And we've talked about this. So I went to college. I was like, I do not want to be around the people from my hometown. They make me feel gross. They make me feel weird. I don't feel my like best self with them. I feel like I can't grow into the person that I want to be around people from high school who already put me in a box. And that's another thing with environment. Like sometimes, and I think this is why people really enjoy leaving their hometown, because whether you like it or not, and whether it matters, could I have stayed in North Dakota and still found myself and figured it out? I would like to think so, but I think when you are around all of these people, your own family, your own friends that have an idea of you and like have culminated like who you've dated, stupid shit that you've done, you know, who you were in high school. When you're around these people and they have an idea of you, they treat you a certain way. And just like in our own head, you just aren't able to really like bloom. You know, you can reinvent yourself. And I also want to make it clear that being your authentic self is constantly changing. Like this is in no way, shape, or form saying that you can't try new things. It's just really revealing like who you are to your core. So then you can add those things. It's like once you have a base level understanding of like what you enjoy, what you don't, the environments you like, the environments you don't, you can then better choose. Like if you want to reinvent yourself and become a whole nother bitch, pop off. I think you'll be able to do that the best once you know who you are. Again, you'll never fully understand yourself. But anyways, okay, let me get back to what the fuck I was saying. So in college, okay, I knew from like early on, number one, I knew that I hated going out late. I fucking hated leaving the dorm room at 9:30 p.m. And it's so funny because at the time, you know, people would joke like, you grandma, you don't want to go out, yada, yada. And it's like, I am. And that's okay. That is okay. But anyways, I did the thing. I'd go to the parties. I hated being at these parties. Sometimes they were fun if I was with the right people, but then it would just like get late and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing here? So that was like step one, figuring out I don't like that environment. I actually feel my best when I go to bed early and I wake up the next day and I can go on a walk or like, and it looks different. I was talking to Carter about this and how I might be doing, oh my gosh, bitch. My brain is all over the place if you can't tell. I am going to a birthday party at the end of the month for my very best friend. And I think I'm going to sleep there. I was telling him this last night because she lives so far up north, like literally an hour drive. So if I'm there all night, like just to be safe and whatever, I'm going to sleep there. But I'm like, oh, there's nothing better than like having your own room and bathroom. Anyways, we started talking about accommodations. Bitch, where the fuck are you going with this? I, in college and into adulthood, have been in scenarios where I stay at a lake house. Okay, for example, I stay at my best friend Garrett's lake house when there's a ton of friends. And I'm always, you guys, the first bitch up at 6 a.m. And when I sit on that dock, there is nothing better than that. There is nothing more peaceful. Like those are my favorite mornings. Like I just said, when I go to Central Market on a Saturday morning, the streets are empty because nobody's out. I go into the store and nobody's there yet. Those are my favorite moments. And how the fuck would I have known that if I went out and partied and never even woke up before 11 a.m.? How would I have ever known that? So it's just like taking away and just like trying different things, but spending time with yourself. Number two, I love being alone. Like that's another thing in high school, you know, even beyond or like earlier than that. And then in college, you were constantly surrounded by people. So like, how would you even know that you like being alone if you'd never been alone? You know what I mean? Which again, I got a glimpse of that in high school. So I had a head start because my dad lived with his girlfriend, but that's another thing with being authentic is I feel like it just comes with age because you become more confident and sure of yourself to like do the weird things. I was thinking about on my drive to Central Market how I would never go out in North Dakota in today's day and age. If I was going to the bar, I would never go there without a jacket. And when you're in college, every single bitch would be in their tiny little clothes, a tank and jeans. Nobody would wear a jacket because it wasn't cool. And so nobody did it, but you'd freeze your fucking tits off in line. I would never do that anymore. Could I have done that back then? Yes. But like the thought and like the perceived like, oh my gosh, that's so lame. But now as like an older 27-year-old adult, like we make fun of older people, you know. I was just thinking about fanny packs. Like when I was a kid, a fanny pack, like if an adult wore that, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're so lame. Now as an adult, I constantly have my belt bag. Sorry, we were really jumping around. And like, it's so functional. And as a 27-year-old, because I have confidence, because I know myself, you stop like thinking about these weird, stupid fucking things and you just do what makes sense, you know? And like the smart thing, I would go to that bar in Fargo with a jacket on. If those college bitches are still going there without a jacket, cool. But it's like once you get older and gain more confidence, you just like start doing things that, number one, make a hell of a lot more sense, but like things you wouldn't do because you're more sure of yourself. Does that make sense? Like that might be such like a horrible explanation or example, but as you get older, I think you just come into who you are more and more. So like if you're 18 years old listening to this, not to say you can't start figuring those things out, but you are in a weird place and it will get better 100%. Like I can't even imagine at 40, like who I'm going to be, because if I feel so confident about myself now, I can't even imagine at 40 because I'm constantly like working on these things. I also think I live such a better life because of it, because I'm only doing what I want. Again, another conversation Carter and I were having last night. We're going to this thing and it's not the best scenario. However, I was just saying to him, I'm not going to get into the details, like we're too old. And like, I just at this point in my life, if there are people that I don't want to be around, I'm not going to. Like, if I don't even want to see my own freaking, okay, Brenna, if there is somebody that's going to be somewhere and like me and this person don't vibe or like, oh my gosh, you guys, every single episode, I think more and more about having ADHD. And like, I would never get diagnosed because like, I love living the way that I do in my brain, but I do really think that's probably a thing. However, I was with my friend Natalie a couple weekends ago and we were talking about her birthday because it's in January, which honestly isn't far from right now at this point. And I said, bitch, what did we do last year for your birthday? Like, what? Did I miss it? Because I couldn't remember. And she was like, no, bitch. We hung out all day long. I was like, okay, sure. And like, this is what we do. So I can't like pinpoint it, but she was like, we hung out all day long. And then I invited you, me and all my other friends were going out to the bars in Dallas, but like you said, no, you didn't want to. And I actually just made a TikTok about this. Most of my friends that I have, I don't really like their friends. And not in like a mean, like not like anything is wrong with them, but I just only vibe with like very few people. And I'm so done as an adult, like going to things where I know I'm not going to enjoy the company, where it's going to be me and Carter sitting there. And it's like, we can just do that at home. So like, if that would have hurt Natalie's feelings that I didn't go to her birthday, I would have maybe reevaluated, but we spent the whole day together and she gets it because she's so the same. But as a 27-year-old, it's like, I am no longer doing these things because I think I should, even with my own family. It's like, sorry, I'm a big girl. And like, if that doesn't serve me, that doesn't serve me. And I think when you're younger, you just don't have that like conviction yet. It's really hard to say no, especially for women. We are commonly, probably not that word either, but people pleasers. And so I think we grow up, we're like put in a box, and then we're always trying to make sure other people are okay, or that people view us a certain way, or like they think that we're nice, or they think that we're fun. And it's like, what the fuck? Why? Why are we giving so many fucks about what other people are thinking? Like, this is my life. Okay, I've really gone down a different path now, but I've been thinking a lot about this. Number one, because you guys messaged me about the sober podcast that I did and how I was talking about, like, why are we so obsessed with being perceived as fun? Like, I don't care if I'm perceived as fun. And a lot of you, like, that resonated. I got a lot of messages about it. And I never really thought too deeply about it until I said it. And I've been thinking about it a lot, and just like these weird things, again, like the labels that we put on ourselves. And also, I always have a hard time pinpointing for me, like, when these things changed. But something that I have really come to realize is my upbringing was really different, being raised by a single dad. And I've talked about this before, but like, my dad has never put any of those weird pressures, not weird, commonly, I think, oh my God, bitch, spit it out. Like, why can't I speak? I don't know, you guys, it doesn't matter. I think when there is a daughter and a mother, and I wouldn't know because obviously I was primarily raised by my dad, I think moms are often the ones that are telling you that you need to be pretty and like make sure you wear lipstick and like, oh, wear a dress and like, oh my gosh, you're going to be such a good wife or bride one day. Like, I think little girls, and I'm sure little boys have their own version of this. Like, we tell boys will be boys, or like, be tough, boys don't cry. Like, there are totally two sides of this, but I'm obviously just speaking about us girls. I didn't have any of that. My dad was never like, make sure you look pretty, or like, you're going to be a great bride one day. And like, I think that honestly has made me such a confident human, because those weird, and again, not weird, they're just like common things that we do. And I think it's just natural. Like, it's easy to just like, oh, you know, when you grow up and get married, I get it. It's just like the normal traditional thing. But I think because I didn't have that, and I didn't have a mom that like pointed out all of my flaws and like to wear a dress and to do this, to have kids, even my parents are so not the parents to like joke, like, give us grandchildren. Like, you know how so many parents are like, okay, like, when are you going to get married? Or like, when are you going to have kids? So then we're grandparents. I think I said that wrong. When parents do that, and whether it's a joke, and sometimes it's not, like one of Carter's friends, his friend's mom is always like, you need to get a wife. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, that is just so icky to me, and it puts pressure on people naturally. Like, I think a lot of you, probably your mom maybe wanted you to look a certain way, or like constantly was like pretty and like all of these things that it's like, okay, but again, like, when did we ever start learning about just like how to be us? And crazy thought, like, some people don't want to get married or have kids, but from the age of 1 year old, that's just like constantly been a narrative that's thrown at you. So this is why I say, like, I don't think being your authentic self is like adding and trying to like figure out, do I like this? Do I like this? It's like removing all of those layers of projections, of ideas, of narratives that have been thrown on us from such a young age, which is so hard because some people have it way worse. And I was saying that about myself because I don't have that. Like, nobody in my family has ever said those like things to me or put like these societal pressures. And that's why I think it's been so much easier for me, because I'm like, nobody's ever told me to be a certain way, or that I have to be pretty, or that I have to become a wife. So I was so much easily more able to be a free thinker and be whatever the fuck I want to be, because I didn't have these things all in my head like a lot of you probably do. And I think it's really hard to unlearn that. But yeah, you guys, I think I'm going to end this here. I want to keep this conversation going, but those are like the main things I wanted to talk about. I am going to make an episode soon about confidence again, and just like how to be more confident, because I think this conversation and that conversation go hand in hand. I think being more confident doesn't always make you more authentic or like your authentic self, but I think when you become more of your authentic true self, you become more confident, because the more sure of yourself that you get, it's easy to be confident because you're like, oh, I know who the fuck I am. Like, yep, this is me. Cool. And you take on the day with such a different perspective. But We will keep this conversation going. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And then next week, we will be back here. And I can't wait to catch up with you. Okay. Bye, guys. Have the best week.